Union. Is the continental body fulfilling its mandate in terms of peace and security on the continent, of course, and other issues? Egypt is set to take over the chairperson position from Rwanda, and we are joined now in studio by Ambassador Sherif Issa, representing the Arab Republic of Egypt. A very good evening to you, Ambassador, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Let's just first start with your vision for the AU going forward as you take over the helm. I think the reforms were the latest important decisions that were made. Do you intend to continue with that?
Sure. Before I speak about the African Union, our plans and our agenda, let me first congratulate South Africa for taking over the Security Council non-permanent seat, and wishing the diplomacy of South Africa all the best in representing Africa, the people of Africa, our dreams and our hopes. The African Union, yes, we have to continue. We're not going to start from the beginning. President Kagame had achieved a lot, and we need to continue with that. We have some main issues to focus on. We have the main pillars of our diplomacy in order to enhance the African work together. So we can speak about those pillars. I can tell you exactly what we're thinking about, our priorities, the priorities of the people of Africa.
What are your priorities?
Yes, first we need to enhance the economic cooperation. Economic cooperation in the continent needs a lot of things. First is the African Continental Free Trade Area, where the agreement was signed in Kigali, year 2018, and we need to encourage countries to ratify the agreement in order to come into force. We have, I think, we have 3 remaining countries to ratify, and the agreement will enter into force. And then we can start to talk about the dreams of the people of Africa in having an economic zone that we can exchange our trade, our economic growth, to exchange experience, capacity building, training, and we need to focus on the people of the continent. So this is economically. The second thing is the peace and security. As you were speaking about the report you gave in the beginning about many tension around us in the continent. Peace and security is our aim. We need to work to enhance peace and security on the continent. Egypt will be hosting the headquarters of the post-conflict Center for Reconstruction and Development. This will be, the headquarters will be in Egypt. We will work on it the year 2019 to host the headquarters, and starting from here we will move in order to bring peace and stability in the different parts of the continent where we can see a lot of tension around us now.
Okay. I want to talk about trade. I know President Al-Sisi has said one of the things that he is hoping to do is speed up intra-African trade. That has been a major challenge for Africa. Conflict, competition between countries. What does he see as the major stumbling blocks that he will give priority to in this area?
As I said, it's first to come into force this agreement, the Continental Agreement. We have also the trilateral agreement for the intercontinental trade in the African continent, for the main regional trade unions in Africa, like the ECOWAS, the North Africa, the East Africa, and the SADC. So to enhance cooperation between those blocks is also one of the aims of Egypt, or our target is to enhance the cooperation between the 4 blocks of the main corners of Africa. Other thing is the mega projects in Africa. You know that we have the project of Cape Cairo Road, and this is a dream to connect the north and the south of the continent together through a road that starts in Cape Town and ends in Cairo. We have a sign in Egypt saying that Cape Town from this point is 10,600 kilometers away. A dream to drive your car or to take a train and come to South Africa by the
just curious, looking at trade in general. I mean, there's always been the EPA's, European Union's agreements that we have, economic partnership agreements that have been a source of conflict even within African countries. And the question is, do you foresee a different way of doing things so that African countries are not disadvantaged by these EPAs that we sign up to?
Yes. As you said, the conflict. We don't need to have a conflict. We need to have not a destructive competition, a constructive competition. And we have the ability to do so. It is, yes, maybe we have similar products, maybe we have similar strategies to enhance trade, but still we can integrate those strategies together in order not to compete as destructive competition, as I said.
But how do you do that when some of those agreements are that we cannot sign trade deals with countries or regions that compete with the EU? That includes some of our African countries. So it is a spanner in the works for intra-Africa trade.
Yes, it happened before with the European Union. They have the same products, they have the same culture, they have the same even the atmosphere, the temperature, but they still can cooperate together. Africa should be convinced that without cooperation we cannot enhance peace and security, we cannot enhance the trade between the countries in the continent, and that our interest is a common interest. It's not to contradict or to conflict together.
I want to talk about peace and security. Especially with recent conflicts that we've seen recently, Zimbabwe, the DRC, and there's the situation brewing now in Nigeria. There's often criticism about how the African Union handles such matters, that people believe that it's not firm enough with countries who are not upholding democratic principles.
Not firm enough. I don't think that the African Union has been weak with the countries. I mean, we have seen through the last few weeks what happened in Congo, and it was clear that the African Union is very much concerned about what's happening there. And President Kagame called for a meeting as an urgent meeting in Addis Ababa. Many presidents have been there. President Ramaphosa was there, and they spoke clearly. What should we do? It is a very sensitive line between interfering in internal affairs of a country and trying to be firm, as you said, with the countries in order to respect the democracy and the other side position, and the opposition also in our African countries should understand that it is not the violence and it is not the arm, the carrying arm against the governments that will bring stability to the country. No, it is a dialogue, and a very wise dialogue between the governments of the African countries and the opposition on those countries. We have Zambia coming to elections, we have Nigeria coming to elections, we have Senegal coming to elections.
You have South Africa.
South Africa also in May coming to elections. So those are challenges that faces the people.
I think I want to look at the manner in which the AU deals with the challenges. The criticism, whether valid or not, is that its inability to deal with such complex conflicts in a definitive way that leads Western nations, in this example, let's use the example of the US-led invasion of Libya, that allows for interference.
Yes.
So how does Africa put the sovereignty of countries on top, but also above that, the safety of its citizenry?
This is what I said about the sensitivity of the balance between the two issues. We will not allow external interfere in the continent. We need to solve our problems ourselves. The situation in Libya needs the African Union to move. And the situation in other countries in Africa needs also to prevent external interventions and try to find our solution by our hands through the African leadership.
Is there a need to change the AU's charter?
No, I don't think that we need to change the charter at all. We are working on the reconstruction of the financial and political bodies of the African Union. This needs a lot of dialogue between the countries, understanding the weight of the countries in the continent, and the role of the big countries in Africa in order to give an example for other countries to follow, how to cooperate, how to integrate together. Reconstruction does not mean the change of the charter of the African Union. Maybe it's not the time now. We need first to bring stability to the continent and then speak about any change of that will bring, for the interests of the people.
Let's talk about stability in light of your own country, Egypt. Recently, you've arrested 6 so-called insurgents because of a sense that they were planning or plotting unrest in the country on the anniversary of the 2011 uprisings. The criticism, though, against you is that it's actually not allowing people the right to dissent, the right to speak out against what they see as oppression.
Let me tell you and assure you that we highly respect the freedom of expression. Still in Egypt, we are witnessing many challenges in Egypt. And as our president was speaking while the visit of the French president in the joint communique and the joint press conference, our president was asking people about the challenges and giving the challenges that we are facing in Egypt, starting from the economic challenges, the birth growth in Egypt, and the terrorism in Egypt, which needs a very wise way of dealing with such issues of freedom of expression. And again, we have a very thin line between the freedom of expression and putting some negative impression to the public opinion and bringing them that it is always a black scene in the country and that the economy is not moving. No, it is to the contrary. Egypt is achieving a great economic growth. Egypt have been, for the last 2 years, the most attractive to the foreign investment country in Africa. So with all the work we're doing in the economy and fighting terrorism, we have a very thin line that we sometimes maybe we need to look at, but freedom of expression is there, and I assure you that it's there and it's respected in Egypt.
Let's talk about something more positive, the African Cup of Nations, which you're hosting in June.
Yes.
How prepared are you?
We are well prepared. The committee have assured Egypt that we are ready for hosting this continental event where all the world will be watching. South Africa have successfully hosted the World Cup in 2010, and Egypt will also try to give a good example for the continent that we can host the African Cup in 2019. Wishing all the best for all the countries. South Africa is a very important country that we hope to see South Africa in Egypt, the South African team in Egypt. We are ready, and then really sport is bringing people together, and I hope that we will see a very successful tournament.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
Ambassador Sherif Issa, the representative of the Republic of Egypt to South Africa. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Next week on African Perspective, we'll focus on the AU Summit that will be in full swing in Addis Ababa. And from all of us here, good night. Thank you so much for watching. The Globe is up next.